After a brief visit below 55k post non-farm payrolls last week, Bitcoin recovers quickly, back to 57k, on hopes that Trump does well in tonight's presidential debate. Short-dated vol finds a bid as Gamma is expected to perform well, and downside skew has evaporated as puts get sold across the curve in favour of weekly calls. All this and more in this week's Crypto Options Unplugged. Welcome back to Crypto Options Unplugged, everyone. I'm Imran Larka from Options Insight. I've got my man Dave from FRNT, and today's special guest is Neelabh Dixit, Head of Product Strategy over at Talos. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Good to have you here.
Yeah,
man.
great to have you on. Great to have you on.
All right, so we're all in good spirits. We had a nice 5% rally out of Bitcoin yesterday.
It might be a little bit selective in terms of...
Yeah, exactly. Forget what happened last week.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're all down in the dumps over the weekend.
So non-farm payrolls missing again, taking risk assets lower, and crypto did not escape.
No, it didn't. And it's funny because we come out of the studio last week and it's like the world had sort of ended. And we kind of very quickly went from this Goldilocks scenario to everyone worried about recession risks, triggered mainly from the ISM, the manufacturing ISM, which I thought was a massive overreaction given that manufacturing's been in recession for pretty much the last 12 months in the US, and also manufacturing is less than 20% of the US economy. But it kind of maybe was quite insightful just to show you where the market sensitivity lies right now. And it's this recession fear. And then you had like the JOLTS numbers came out. They again sort of really pointed to this slowing labor market. You had like job vacancies, I think at the lowest level since the start of 21. You had the actual vacancies to unemployment ratio is the lowest it's been since 2018. So the labour market it's more than normalised now. It's looking quite soft. Mm-hmm. However, the flip to that was, non-farm was kind of okay. Like the downward revisions, like made it again. How much can we take like that first print at face value? But unemployment sort of ticked back down. Wages kind of looked okay. And then the ISM services, the bigger part of the economy, looked kind of okay. So it still, for me, feels a little bit Goldilocks in that we've got this softening US like backdrop in a disinflationary world with a Fed with a huge amount of firepower. But nonetheless, the market kind of ran with that recession story. Globally, there's a global slowdown. The data out of China is still awful. The data out of Germany is pretty awful. So we definitely got this global slowdown going on. And the market always wants to knee-jerk that risk-off, recession fear, even though I kind of stand by the view that we are a function of rates and liquidity. So actually, we should be sniffing out that, the rate cuts, the global rate cutting cycle, the fact that liquidity is going to soon start flowing in. And particularly Bitcoin should. But yeah, here we are. We seem to be like, just sort of dancing step for step with what the S&P is doing. Mm-hmm. We're not breaking away from that at the moment.
So Neelabh, tell us a little bit about your background before we get into this hardcore markets chat that we obviously just like go straight out of the gate. Yeah, tell us, how'd you get into crypto?
So like I used to trade equities for Deutsche, Asia ex Japan, mostly index flow, and early 2017, Deutsche had like cut 20% of the trading floor because there was a big fine that they had to pay in US. And as a part of it, they made redundancies.
It's not just crypto companies that have to pay fines.
So while I was interviewing for jobs, I started I had to keep doing something to keep myself sane. So with another ex-colleague who was into crypto, we started just playing with basically crypto, like just trading to understand the infrastructure.
Trading Delta One.
Yeah,
right.
There was like even perps didn't exist in the same way.
Okay. Like
BitMEX was very.
What year
this is February 2017.
Okay.
The entire market universe was like 25 yards.
Like I think that was when the futures were first listed or something, right? isn't it?
No,
Oh, okay.
it's even earlier than that.
The CME.
They listed in
CME.
December that year.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like a few months earlier. So long story short, like just got amazed with like the logistics and the ops, even when I was doing the same thing, like trading, compared to what my experience was on the equity side. So just for fun, while we were applying for jobs, me and my ex-colleague, we started basically, at that time, like ICOs had just started coming in. This is March 2017. So coming from an index flow background, like all I understood is like, if you see money flowing into a market, if there is an index, just buy the index, just play high beta. So we tried to find something. There was no index. We created something like for our own self. And then a few friends got interested. We started playing with the money, and then we started applying to these VCs on basically a business proposal where we will be probably offering index and high beta strategies to the clients. And we were just lucky. Like in April, May, we got basically funded by like a VC called 500 Startups. It's a Bay Area named Early Stage VC. And then we decided we will do it full time. Like 2017 was purely a beta play. We were lucky to be a part of it. By the end of 2017, because we were trading in most of the venues actively, we were like pretty close to the liquidity, and like basically our trading fee was like much cheaper. And this is like December 2017. Exchanges were struggling to onboard people, and few of our like basically investors started unwinding because they had like made a decent amount of money. That's when we figured out that OTC is a business that needs to be solved. And we had the infrastructure to do that. So we started working with ICOs, because the natural like clients for that were these ICOs that were raising money in the form of Bitcoin and Ethereum, but they had to pay their bills in the form of dollars. And then working with them, like we got exposed to more VCs who were participating in these tokens. And they were like, on the day of listing, they needed like a dealer who can actually help them unwind the position. So that was pretty much what we started doing.
That was the evolution. That was the kind of genesis of Talos, basically.
No. That's how I came into crypto.
Oh, that's how you came.
And basically, I spent pretty much 6 years like building and running different types of trading businesses. And then I joined Talos beginning of last year. I came in to basically build out the options offering for Talos. But over the time, as the company grew, and basically I just raised my hand to take more opportunities. Now I'm heading the product strategy. To talk about Talos, Talos started in 2018, and it started primarily as like an OEMS, PMS provider, like trying to solve for trading infrastructure. But basically, just by building out good trading infrastructure, you, as a byproduct, you build data because you have to demonstrate your execution. So you build out data and analytics. And then like basically you also start offering, because crypto is very different from TradFi. So you need like specific settlement tools, different sort of connectivity to the exchanges, to the custodians. So we build out those type of solutions. And over the time now, like we have spent a good amount of time and resources to acquire some portfolio management businesses to build out like a proper PMS. So that's what Talos does.
Okay.
And
so who are the main types of clients that you guys then?
So it's institutional clients.
Okay.
Both crypto native as well as traditional finance. So basically, the way I would explain our business is, Talos provides infrastructure to invest and trade on principal basis, but also if you wanted to offer that to your clients, it allows you to do that as well. So in terms of the client types,
you can act like a broker dealer.
Yeah. So on principal trading side, you have hedge funds or like prop desks, or even like brokers who are warehousing risk and doing principal trading. But if you also wanted to offer solutions, liquidity to your end clients, we have a broker dealer solution as well. And we cater to both retail brokers as well as basically institutional brokers.
Right. Okay. And you're saying like how you got crypto native and people from TradFi. How has that landscape changed over the last couple of years? Has that balance switched from like 50 to 50-50? Or is it, what is the kind of percentage of crypto native to to traditional?
I would still say, like, if I compare, like, okay, like if you compare overall, the business is still like and that basically our business mirrors what the crypto ecosystem is.
Mm-hmm.
Crypto ecosystem is still dominated by crypto native firms. But if I just take one last year, the TradFi firms, their participation has grown quite a lot. But then again, like if something grew from like 1% to 5%, it's a massive jump. But like on the overall mix, it's still small because that's where the ecosystem stands.
Sure.
But that is one of the biggest growth drivers that you see in the ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly. So the rate of change is pretty high though, right? Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, that gives people a better idea of, for those who didn't already know who Talos is and what you guys do. And so, I mean, I'd like to hear your perspective on the crypto market right now. So for example, we've had a little pop. I mean, I think it's pretty clear to say it's short covering ahead of this presidential debate, right?
Yep.
What are your thoughts right now?
I like going back to like some of the things that we were talking earlier. Like, it's to me, it's like the data is weak, but it's like it's still the economy is still growing. It's growing slowly now. The rate of growth is decreasing. So if you have to force the central bank to move faster, you have to show like a big immediate knee-jerk reaction. Like that's generally what markets do. So to me, it was that. And then probably like there is no cue further until like the debate today. So shorts were covering, and that's where we saw the rebound.
Yes, we had a bit of a risk asset liquidation move on Friday.
Right.
And that's kind of like now overshot. And people have come in over the weekend and said, well, what's the thing that matters this week? Oh, the debate. Trump's quite a good debater. Maybe we should cover our shorts, right? So,
right.
Okay. And do you think it makes a big difference? Do you think if we get a good showing out of Trump, and obviously he seems to be the more crypto-friendly candidate, although apparently Kamala is accepting crypto donations for her campaign through Coinbase, I heard.
Yeah, they'll always take the money.
They'll always take your money, yeah.
Or your crypto.
You may never see it again, though. But yeah, so if Trump does well, do you think it's another typical sell the news on crypto? Like we get a little bounce to 60K and then it gets slammed because it's like we still got to wait for the election, and crypto just loves those sort of moves, right? Anticipation is what it loves, and then actually when the event occurs, it's like, oh, okay, is that it?
Yeah, the way I look at it, let's say like if I were still trading, like basically where will we get surprised? Like we will not get surprised if Trump basically coming out of the debate, like everybody is like, yeah, Trump did well, or basically so if Harris does better, I think that is the surprise that might bring something rather than basically just Trump doing it well. Because
so does that mean the risk is skewed to the downside then? Probably.
Yes, that's what I personally feel. But
interesting.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel going into this, that would be the surprise outcome. If she shoots ahead in the polls, you definitely, you'd probably get a revisit to those lows, I guess, that we saw on Friday. Something interesting for me is that post the DNC convention, Kamala's odds have actually fallen like on Polymarket. So Trump's now establishing a little bit of a lead. I think he's at
Wasn't that right after 53. You said peak Kamala?
Yeah, peak Kamala. She has peaked. I saw, do you know, the Nate Silver, who...
and he's got Trump 68%, hasn't he?
Yeah, something like he's basically nailed on, but to win the Electoral College, not to win the popular
is he always
vote.
that accurate these days?
I don't know, but he's quite respected, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting, but the market hasn't really reacted. We sat here last week and spoke about... like you had a couple of things. Like we spoke about like how the impact of month end on liquidity, and that by the way, RRP is now drawing down. We spoke about how because you had Arthur Hayes saying about like because RRP rates are setting above Treasury bill rates, we start to see the reverse repo, basically cash parked at the Fed, start to build up, which is taking liquidity out of the market. If that continues, and that could weigh on Bitcoin. We kind of argued last week that we might see that reverse because you tend to see banks window dressing into month end. So RRP's fallen substantially now.
How much has it
It's
fallen?
below 300 billion. It's fallen by like 100 and something billion.
That's sizable, right?
Yeah. So we've had a really sort of decent, which is kind of like a liquidity injection. And I said about the next couple of weeks would be more instructive. I'm wondering as well, like, so really for the last, call it 2 weeks, like Trump's odds have started to surge on, well, not surge, but he started to nudge ahead on Poly Market. You've had the Nate Silver stuff, but we've not really had a reaction. I wonder if actually tonight is the risk event that people go, what, right, hang on. I can't strap on any risk ahead of this, because there is the risk that Kamala outperforms and then we have another sell-off. So if it's kind of in line or Trump sort of does particularly well, I wonder if people go, right, now it's go time, now we can put this on. So I guess that's the kind of positive spin into it.
Well, I mean, okay, if we put those two arguments together, we're basically saying you want to own Gamma, which is kind of what the options market is saying. The options market has got a bit of a bid to the front end for good reason, by the sounds of it, right? But if you think about the Nashville speech, that's kind of the most recent event that would look something like this, right? Because it was kind of all about politics and how well Trump was going to come off and whether he was going to actually deliver on the kind of Bitcoin reserve thing that was being promised. So that was a seriously choppy intraday event, right? As in net, we didn't go that far and actually we were lower at the end of it, but it was winging around like a madman. So I actually think if you're going to own options, you're going to have to be awake and you're going to have to be trading the event. It's like 9 p.m. Eastern, right? If you want to actually monetize and be able to make money out of that vol, you're going to have to trade it, because I'm not sure we're going to end up that differently to where we are, but the swings could be quite wild.
Yeah.
Right.
And so what are you seeing on the vol world?
So on the vol world this week, so we did get short end vols got hammered last week and then they bounced out of there. So we're probably about, you were having this really steep curve where you had a big kink in 8th of November for the election. And then the front end was getting hit and there was a little kink for this week. Now, obviously this week is here. The front end has sort of ratcheted up by about 10 points. So that could well get faded after the event, but it has got a little bit of a premium. In terms of the rest of the curve, long end Ethereum caught a little bit of a bid, surprisingly. That's kind of been out of favor in terms of spot. We're just sitting down there near the lows in the ETH Bitcoin spread. Front end spread between Ethereum and Bitcoin vol has come down to about 6 points. It was living closer to 10. So obviously Bitcoin vols have kind of closed the gap a little bit in the front end because we're expecting a move on Bitcoin this week. And then skew kind of telling the same story that it has been, which is you tend to get more put skew in the front end and call skew in the back end. And there is more put skew in Ethereum than there is in Bitcoin. So the idea being, if crypto markets crack to the downside, Ethereum's going to be the higher beta asset on the way down, right? And then longer term, the skew market is kind of telling you that we're bullish on everything, right? So if you get Trump come in and Bitcoin rallies, then Ethereum will benefit longer term, which is why it's like 4 vol call skew from both assets, basically.
Interesting. And how about yourself? How are you positioning?
So I stuck on, I used the weakness last week to stick on some call ladders, which are basically where you buy a call spread and then you sell another call beyond that. But I did a bit of a funky one where I bought call spreads for this Friday. So something like the 58K, 60K call spread, fairly tight call spread. And then I funded it with like a end of September 67K call. Because I think what we get is we get a rip higher towards 60K on a good result this week, but then that just gets faded again into the end of September, right? So that's my way of kind of not spending a lot of premium, but potentially getting a payout of a couple of grand if it per contract if it was to pop above 60K this week.
Nice. Makes sense. And do you trade yourself? Are you able to trade or?
No, I don't. I don't trade because there's no edge if I'm not doing it full time.
Yeah.
Because because of my past background, like yourself, I generally invest, meaning that I hold things for longer, and I mostly trade spot instead of trading derivatives. But I have traded derivatives for living for a while before getting into Talos. But we do talk to traders on a day-to-day basis, so it's basically we get a sense of what's happening in the market and how they are positioning. for a particular event or what their thoughts are.
Do you notice any big differences in the way crypto options and derivatives trade relative to developed markets where you sort of grew up?
Oh yeah, like basically, if I bring analogy to Asia, right, like it's only Japan where like you have quantos, like fairly liquid quantos, a bit in India as well now, but now it has become a big market. But most of the like derivatives market are like, which are fairly liquid, are USD denominated or like just in fiat currencies, rather than like having that quanto effect.
So
Crypto options like Deribit.
Explain that for viewers who won't understand.
So let's talk deep dive into crypto, right? Like, so Bitcoin options, the underlying is BTC USD. So usually, like if you trade the same contract on CME, the settlement currency would be USD, meaning that everything is priced and settled in USD. Whereas in Deribit, it's inverse in terms of settlement. So when you're trading, you're looking at your positions and trading into the expiries, there is basically convexity that you have to deal with it on top of what your portfolio is, just because of like...
So because your margin is crypto based,
right,
and all of the money you receive or spend on options is crypto.
You still see your P&L mostly in dollars, like, because that's...
Yeah, so you come from like a world where you do your accounting in dollars,
right?
But the value of all of your stuff that you hold is in crypto.
Right.
So it has an inherent delta to it, basically, right? It has an inherent exposure to the price of Bitcoin. So like if crypto markets drop 90% and I make loads of money because I'm good at trading Bitcoin denominated options and I've made like 100 Bitcoins worth of P&L,
you have to trade it out.
Unless I hedge that out by selling Bitcoin futures or whatever,
right,
then if Bitcoin drops by 90%, I've made no money,
right?
Basically, right? So that's the point you're making. So saying that's the fundamental, real big difference in trading crypto derivatives.
Right. And my hypothesis to that is like, again, this is my hypothesis. It might be true, it might not be true, but like it's just the way how the crypto ecosystem evolved. So inverse perps were like, they came into like, at least for most of the market, through BitMEX. There were some earlier variations of it as well, but BitMEX is pretty much where like people started trading inverse perps. Stable coins, like even Tether was small at that time and Ethereum was still very nascent. So the only thing that crypto basically believed in was Bitcoin, and most of these exchanges won't get like a USD, like a banking license, that we need to settle in USD. So everything started getting priced and settled in Bitcoin, settled more than priced. And then over the time, until you had Circle becoming big, most of the contracts, like you have like a big liquid legacy because of that, like into inverse contracts. But
as we get more adoption and we get TradFi coming in and we get regulation being more friendly, do you see a move away from crypto native, crypto margined accounts to the more dollar-based stuff?
I think so, because like if we look at
another headache I don't need if I'm a trader, right?
That's exactly what we were talking about, right? And if like at least like Deribit is making an attempt, right? Like outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum, just because probably it is already very liquid. So it will be difficult to move into a BTC USDC versus like the BTC contracts right now, BTC USD.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people trading them who want to trade them.
And you need liquidity to get liquidity. So
but all of the altcoins are all denominated in
USDC. Right. And they are bringing in basically just one settlement currency for all of your contracts. I think that's a slow move, but hopefully, like as the adoption grows, that's where we'll see more and more market moving towards too.
How do you question for you, like as a head of product strategy at Talos, like the thing we all love about crypto is like we kind of all see all the potential and all the different areas we can take it. Hardest thing when you're building a business is to actually focus and actually, you know, put it into an actionable structure and like sort of business plan going forward. How do you, because there must be so many ideas. You guys at Talos must be talking about so many different, we could do this, we could do that.
Right.
How do you organize it and prioritize what you're going to build?
Usually the way we operate is, and you're right that like if you, just because where we sit, we cater to a very wide variety of clients. the entire ecosystem is still a startup. So everybody has pains and that needs to be solved. So generally what we do is like, as a part of the business plan, we do go and talk to the market, like figure out the hypothesis, test it out, understand what needs to be built and what people will pay for and what type of value would it create for them if we do that. And usually the way we pick new things that we do is usually finding some like right design partners. In our definition, the right design partners are the firms who have the right experience in terms of the business that they are doing, and they have the actual business to consume the product that we are building with them, so that on the longer term, if we are right in terms of the hypothesis, we build something that works for everyone. And we have periodic...
So you're kind of partnering with the potential client who wants that product and helping. You see a need, you see a gap and a need, and you're partnering with the people who want that, who to meet their need, basically, right? And they can actually help you design that product as well.
So it's a combination of both. Like they should also, like you might be running, let's say somebody in crypto might start running a broker-dealer, an institutional broker-dealer business. But if in the team, everybody is just like 2-year experienced, the probability that they will give us the right feedback right from the beginning is much lower versus, let's say, a bunch of people coming in from TradFi who have been in crypto as well. And now they are building something where the team up efficiency would be much higher.
Mm-hmm. And would you say this sort of approach is what differentiates Talos from your competition? Like what makes, for people who are watching, like what makes you guys stand out?
So what I would say is, like, in terms of competition, like basically there is nobody in the market that is covering the depth and the breadth of the product ecosystem that we touch in terms of being the market's infrastructure provider. Usually we'll come up, like basically some names would come up from few regions or few specific products, but there are not many firms on the street. In fact, like we don't come across any firm in the street that is doing the breadth of and the depth of things that we are doing. Mm-hmm. So we are just trying to be the one place for any markets business that comes into crypto. Mm-hmm. That can basically, we are able to provide them set of tools that help them facilitate their business.
Mm-hmm.
The one-stop shop.
Exactly, one-stop shop. That's what it looks like.
For technology, pure like markets technology.
Yeah.
Okay, and going back to kind of markets, like what do you see as like the biggest? If you had to say your sort of top opportunity that you see in crypto markets right now, if I was to say to you over the next year, what is the biggest opportunity set for you in crypto right now? Any thoughts there?
Are you talking about like just personally in terms of investing, or?
Yeah, like if people are thinking about getting into crypto, right? Because what would be the place where they would get the most sort of bang for their buck and with the highest probability, in your opinion?
I still feel like, and this is just purely my personal view,
mm-hmm. and that's all I'm asking for. Yeah.
But I still feel for most of the people like who are new to the space or who are coming, they might be like well experienced in terms of the investment, how the investment works, mm-hmm. but new to crypto, because still there is crypto markets are still very opaque in terms of information outside Bitcoin and Ethereum. So like probably it would be more of a macro trade to do around Bitcoin. And if they go deeper, then probably Ethereum is where they could go deeper in terms of the actual, like basically a protocol that is actually being used by the ecosystem. But then again, like we've been talking about ETH-BTC for ages.
It just doesn't want to go.
It doesn't, yeah. So, so going back to it, like it's still probably, from that perspective, it still will be Bitcoin. And if I look at just like few outside factors other than crypto, like it's easier for people to access Bitcoin ETFs now and get the right exposure, rather than basically going them and buying it physical, which obviously we can debate about whether by owning physical is a better way or just having exposure, but that gives you then exposure. You said like we were talking about Trump. He has made pretty bold statements pro crypto, So, and
Do you think he's more pro crypto or more pro Bitcoin?
I'll come to what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So basically, he made statements probably more around like pro crypto, and Bitcoin is being used because that is like outside crypto. Bitcoin is probably the coin that is mostly known from most of the non-crypto people that connect crypto to. But he basically, if he comes into power, he's known for like basically he's more of an economy guy. Like he'll get it back. If I think that is good for crypto as well. Like if I talk to firms on the street, like banking still seems to be a problem. Like as in like it's not in operating in the same way as it used to be when Silvergate and Signature were around.
Too many frictions.
It's still exactly. So I think we need some of those structural changes first for the money to start flowing in that ways. And then
that's when the alt season finally comes.
Usually, yes. So Bitcoin generally, historically, again, like it's a short history, but Bitcoin needs to like hit the all-time highs first, and then rest of the basically.
So dominance continues in your view, I guess.
Right.
I think as well, like for me, like the interest, and perhaps this is my closing thought on everything. Like we get. Like right now, we're really like kind of this boring range in Bitcoin. It kind of feels like we need a narrative. I think it's building. In fact, for me, it's unfolding like perfectly along the macro. We've proved again we can't sustain high real rates. We're about to see a global cutting cycle. We'll see all the other madness that comes into it, the money printing, and because ultimately they have to artificially inflate the assets, which is the collateral that underpins the system, if you want growth within this fiat sort of world we live in. So we got to get all the craziness like that goes on. But the interesting thing is, all that aside, is when you're working in it, and it's interesting speaking to people at Talos, and like this, everyone else in the space is just building, just kind of cracking on. You still see like the people now are the ETFs. Like someone the other day on Twitter saying they've been a bit of a disappointment. They've been the most successful ETF, but because we've had a few outflows over the last couple of weeks,
because expectations just get so high.
And it's like everyone else is just building, right? And everyone else, like there's so much infrastructure being built around this whole ecosystem that when you're in it, I'm of the view, I'm like, when people go, do you think this Bitcoin thing's still a thing? I'm like, oh my God.
And we were talking earlier, right, about the switch from working in the banking industry to working in the crypto industry and how different it feels, right? Because everyone's in a growth mindset. You know, you're talking about people reinvesting bonuses into, the business and stuff like that, right? No one's doing that in banking.
No, it's just all extraction, right? This is, we're still early, and there's still a lot of good times ahead.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll close it out on that note. But it looks like the message of the day is expect some more volatility after tonight's debate. We'll catch you all next week. Thanks for watching.